Today we're discussing secret treaties, one of the most controversial and powerful tools of diplomacy in politics and war. What is a secret treaty? A secret treaty is a treaty in which the parties have agreed to conceal the treaty's existence or substance from other organizations and the public. These secret treaties are often conditional and therefore optional. How are secret treaties used? There are several different types of secret treaties, and I'll categorize them as defensive treaties, aggressive treaties, non-aggression treaties, blacklisting treaties, and bargaining treaties, though you could replace the word treaty with agreement, since they are all informal and non-binding. If an alliance's diplomat changes, they can end all their predecessors' secret agreements within 10 minutes, if they wanted to. The most infamous secret treaty is the defensive secret treaty. We have seen a few of these in the past year, beginning with the Rose, Mystery, and Oasis secret treaty. When Rose was attacked, then both Mystery and Oasis came to their defense to repay past favors. Immediately afterwards, then Rose and the Syndicate signed another secret treaty to defend one another if they were attacked by the Knights Radiant. And then later in the year, Oasis and Mystery signed a secret treaty to defend one another if they were attacked by Clock. Aggressive secret treaties are just as common, but they don't get discovered as often. In reaction to the Mystery Oasis treaty becoming public, then Clock and the Syndicate signed their own secret treaty. If Mystery and Oasis did not cancel their treaty, then Clock and the Syndicate would attack them. They shared the contents of this agreement with the Oasis leadership as an ultimatum. Oasis and Mystery then canceled their treaty, but Clock and the Syndicate still attacked them. This is because Clock and the Syndicate's agreement had other conditions, which weren't clearly expressed in the ultimatum. The Mystery Oasis treaty needed to be cancelled before a deadline, which they weren't aware of. Non-aggression secret treaties. Non-aggression secret treaties are the most common, and they do not receive as much backlash. There are famous real-world examples of this in World War I and World War II. Prior to World War I, then Germany and Russia agreed to observe benevolent neutrality if either became involved in a war against a third country. If Germany's ally Austria attacked France, then Russia could defend its ally without German intervention. And if Russia's ally France attacked Austria, then Germany could defend its ally without Russian intervention. Whoever's ally attacked first would lose, so it made war unlikely. Non-aggression secret treaties in politics and war are much simpler. War is expensive, and non-aggression secret treaties simply spare you from fighting more costly wars. Oasis, Mystery, and Rose were the three poorest and weakest spheres in 2021. And fighting one another would have prevented any of them from rivaling the richer spheres, who were also likely to attack them in order to destroy potential rivals. Another good example is a hypothetical secret treaty between Hollywood and Clock. Both spheres had a whale tier, which we will define at this moment as dozens of nations with more than 35 cities. If either of them fought Celestial or Backrooms and won, then their whale tier would continue to produce money whilst they were at war. However, if they fought one another, both their whale tiers would be damaged, and no one would make money. By signing a secret non-aggression pact, then Clock could attack Backrooms, and Hollywood could attack Celestial, and they would both win their wars and make money doing it. After their wars concluded, then both spheres disbanded. If they had not, they would likely have been pressured to fight each other next. The non-aggression secret treaties are also necessary with how the game's politics is decentralizing. We have half a dozen independent and equally powerful factions. The moment any of them militarizes or otherwise prepares for war, then all the others get worried and have to make expensive preparations themselves. This costs everyone a ton of money, and 4 of the 6 spheres don't end up doing any fighting at all. However, if the attacker signs secret non-aggression pacts, they don't force people to prepare and annoy them, and it also doesn't reveal to their target that they're going after them. The great powers of politics and war will occasionally blacklist alliances. This means that every party agrees not to deal with them and not to sign treaties with them. You might think this is because an alliance is particularly deplorable, but it generally isn't, because the great powers will work with alliances they hate to get an advantage over one another. Rose and the Knights Radiant want to work with Goons. The Syndicate and the Knights Radiant both want to work with the New Pacific Order, and Cataclysm has wanted to work with Hand of Fate. Alliances are often blacklisted because they are fundamentally untrustworthy, or they have been mistreated. If an alliance has been betrayed or seriously harmed, it is likely to want revenge. It may then ally itself with another great power to pursue this revenge, and if it is betrayed again and again, it will be at odds with all the great powers, and want revenge on all of them. In such a scenario, it makes sense for all the great powers to blacklist them, since if they are helped by even one of them, it threatens them all. How does an alliance get off the blacklist? They have to convince the majority of the great powers that they do not want revenge, which is very difficult considering the great powers are extremely paranoid, often lie to one another, and have held grudges for years. Bargaining agreements are made during the peace negotiations of every large war. In the past, then peace agreements involved the losers paying reparations, accepting defeat, accepting responsibility for the war, changing their color trade bloc, humiliating themselves, and reducing their military. However, the winners won't ask for all of that, because they don't want to punish their losers too harshly, and have to defend against a revenge war. Because not every alliance can have everything they want, they negotiate with one another. Perhaps the alliance that wants reparations talks to the one that wants the losers to accept responsibility for the war. They agree to vote for both of their proposals, and not for anyone else's. The alliance that wants reparations then approaches their allies and says they will give them money or influence after the war if they retract their proposals. Voila! The bargaining process ends and only two demands are made of the enemy alliances. This sort of bargaining isn't uncommon in multi-party democracies either. Some of you may be asking, why is intelligence not included in secret treaties? Well, informal information sharing is constantly happening between the spheres. They spread rumors and they selectively share information, which may lead other alliances to conclusions they want. For example, if you discover one alliance is going to attack another, you can alert the defender. This improves relations with them and ensures they prepare and make the attack more costly for the aggressor. What are the advantages of secret treaties? I can think of three. Number 1. Secret treaties allow you to surprise your enemy and defeat alliances that are much stronger than you. Number 2. Propaganda matters a lot more with secret treaties, since if you can convince the public that your enemy is truly evil, then other alliances will not honor their secret treaties and defend them. They might even sign a new secret treaty with you instead. 3. Secret treaties therefore require more maintenance than public ones. Public treaties must be upheld, or the parties breaking it will suffer a blow to their reputation. But there is no such loss of reputation with secret treaties, so you have to convince them to honor it, and stop them changing their mind. The extra maintenance can suck for alliances that are bad at diplomacy, but for big ones it gives their members something to do. What are the disadvantages of secret treaties? There are 3 as well, and they are 3 big ones. Number 1. One side can become much more powerful than the other. When all treaties are public, it's obvious who's stronger and alliances can balance against them to make the game fair. Number 2. OPSEC and secrecy is much more important in an environment with secret treaties. The more important secrecy becomes, the less the average member and the average player will know about the game's politics, and the less people engage in politics, the less people play the game. In the long term, secret treaties and the secrecy they lead to stagnates the game and harms everyone. Number 3. Alliance membership won't just know less about politics, they will also have less power to change politics. And that leads us nicely to the consensus. Secret treaties are bad. That has been the consensus for most of the game for at least half a decade. However, despite this consensus, they continue to be used by small alliances and by the superpowers alike in their global wars. I think the reason for this is that if you do not use secret treaties and your enemy does, they will win, and once you've lost a war to an enemy with secret treaties, you will sign them yourself, regardless of how good or bad it might be for the game. At the end of the day, alliances prioritize their own survival and health over the game's. Why are we thinking about secret treaties? Well, this part of the video will be outdated in a few weeks, so I'm leaving it at the end. Celestial Bloc had their leadership channels leaked, and their war plans shared with the world. Celestial Bloc is led by Rose and the Syndicate for future reference. These war plans give us insight into how the superpowers think about secret treaties, and plan their wars around them. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that Hollywood Bloc disbanded. Instead of member alliances splitting up and joining all the other spheres, they actually split up into 2 new spheres named Withheld and GGO. These 2 spheres are led by alliances that have in the past used secret treaties, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to reduce their security without a backup plan. Their rival Celestial still exists, and if it refused to disband as well, then it makes sense for Withheld and GGO to work together again. So you might think, why doesn't Celestial disband like Hollywood? Well, I don't think they're confident they can win without each other's help. Anyhow, Celestial refuses to break up, and Withheld and GGO both likely have a secret treaty. What's the game plan? Well, they floated a few ideas. Firstly, they could attack GGO, and if their attack is strong enough, then Withheld wouldn't be able to enter the war and save them. Secondly, they could attack GGO and Withheld together, but it's very risky, and the other blocks might join in to prevent Celestial disrupting the balance of powers. Thirdly, they could attack GGO and Withheld and convince Midgard block to attack anyone that tries to intervene. There's a critical flaw in all of these plans. Celestial does not control the narrative. If they attack GGO and Withheld, they will look like a bully and a villain, and people will unite to defeat them. It's not clear how they plan to solve that problem, and now they're in a weird situation, because if you summarize the leaks, like most people will, as Celestial plans a war on GGO and Withheld, then they are a bully. If you read the leaks, you'll immediately recognize that these are two alliances that just want to win after a series of devastating losses. And these are two alliances that are afraid they can't compete in a minisphere environment when the elite players are continuing to concentrate themselves in their rivals. Overall, this is fascinating, and will definitely get Celestial rolled and compel them to disband in the next few months. The only way to avoid that would be to prove the secret treaty between GGO and Withheld exists, and that their war plans were justified. Though I will also note, because I've heard this from many Celestial people, that Withheld and GGO cannot launch an immediate war on Celestial because they already rolled them last month, and regardless of the politics, regardless of the leaks, it would look very, very, very bad in a year's time if they had immediately rolled a sphere twice in a row. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. It's free and you can always change your mind later. And if you have any ideas for the future videos, then leave a comment down below or join my Discord, it's in the description.